Hi, I'm Katrina Zaslavsky, author of A Modern Woman's Guide to a Natural Empowering Birth. And here we are in beautiful, very sunny Adelaide, South Australia, with Rebecca Dettman, who is an amazing contributor from our new book. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I would love to hear a little bit more about the Rebecca behind the Rebecca that we've met in the story. Can you tell us a bit more?
Sure. Okay, so to tell my pregnancy or my birth story, it does begin from years and years and years and years back, because it has to do with my paradigm and my belief system and my philosophy around health and my body, which has always been quite different from the mainstream. I don't know where I got that from, because my parents are very conventional and certainly used to trot me off to the GP for ills and spills and, you know. But somewhere around my teen years, I just stopped being interested in any form of medication, antibiotics, cough lollies, Panadol. I just decided I just didn't want to put that into my system. Sort of quite intuitively, I just felt I didn't need to. And I've had a couple of interesting brushes with the medical system in the last 10, 15 years, where, I've had one doctor tell me I needed to be operated on for something, and someone else tell me I needed day surgery with a nurse to come to my house and cut a wound and bleed it onto pads and all sorts of things like that. And each time I just felt so kind of railroaded, and I just thought, no, I'm in charge of my body, and I'm responsible for what's going on here. And I believe there's more. If some strange illness just flares up when I'm so incredibly healthy and positive, there's something deeper going on, maybe from an emotional point of view or a spiritual point of view. So I've used a number of techniques over the years to get to know my body, such as muscle testing and meditation. So when something comes up, I look at the deeper reason for why. So of course, when it came to falling pregnant with my first child, it never even entered my head to go to a doctor, because I didn't even have one. So, I've never handed my personal power over to anyone else to make decisions about what comes in or out of me. So it was a natural progression of that to say to my husband, well, I think I just want to have the baby somewhere where I feel really relaxed and comfortable, because how else are you going to have a baby? You've got to be relaxed and comfortable to have a baby. Yeah. You can't be hurried or pressured or on somebody else's clock or under radiation like fluorescent lighting, or, with people that you don't know, poking and prodding at you and all sorts of things. So we just jumped on Google and found a home birth midwife, and we met with her once for a cup of tea, and everything she said felt right in here. And that is what the whole journey of birth is about. It's about here and it's about here. So it's about listening to your gut feeling and honouring your gut feeling, no matter how loud those authoritative voices are around you, the men in white coats or the women with stethoscopes. I don't care if they've got doctorates or degrees or 40 years of experience in the public health system. If it doesn't feel right with me in here, why am I listening to them? And with up here, it's a psychological relationship you have with birthing. So it's how much or how little it's going to hurt you is entirely, subjected to how fearful that you're feeling, or where your thoughts are around that whole process, what your beliefs are from society around labouring through a painful birth, these words that we use. So,
Were you feeling fearful? Before the first time?
I'm human, so I certainly, during my pregnancy, it's like on a roller coaster, isn't it? You strap yourself in, you're like, I can't get off the ride now, I've got to go right through to the end until it comes out. So I was in it for the ride, but and I did feel, little bits of fear, because you have no idea how you're going to go in a situation you're going to be put in that you've never been in before, with no practice. You can't practice it.
No dress rehearsal.
No dress rehearsal. You can hypno breathe as much as you want, but really you don't know what it's going to be like. So yeah, I did feel a little bit of fear, but I think mostly, having a home birth, most women who home birth don't really have that level of fear where they believe they need to be in an emergency environment where everything can be jumped on in 1 second.
You didn't expect to have intervention, did you?
No, because you've got to start from the mindset of, my body is intelligent. My body is architecturally designed to give birth, the same as every other billions of the human beings who've ever lived on this planet have done. We don't rush into a field every time a goat's giving birth with a stethoscope and an ambulance and a, ultrasound. Like, come on! Yeah. How do you think a goat gives birth? Well, you know.
You're not begging for an epidural.
No, well, that's right. And we incredibly underestimate our own capacity and capability to do stuff that, again, we're architecturally designed to do. And a lot of that is because we are so out of touch with natural cycles, the seasons, literally the heartbeat of nature. We're in these very sterile, separated environments, the screens, the fluorescent lights above us, the power lines above that, the satellites above that. We're so blocked from even knowing, is the moon waxing or waning? When's the last time you saw a sunset? You know, just, you know, is it blossoming out there, or are the leaves falling? People in office environments don't pay any attention to that. They've got no idea. Whereas our ancestors, they knew all of this. So they fell pregnant under a moon, and then they'd count 10 moons, and they knew they'd birth under the 10th moon. So now we've got this strange idea that it's exactly on this due date. It's actually much shorter calculated than it really should be. So we're jumping in with interventions. We're putting pressure on our bodies for not performing to schedule, because the Western world is about diarising and itinerarising, you know, and we're wanting to do, what's it called, inducing, and, you know, we're wanting to do all of these things, which if we just chilled out, why can't we trust that the baby has its own divine timing to the process, and actually step out of that and say, you can choose your doorway and your gateway. You can choose your star sign, you can choose your birth date, your numerology, your time of day to be born. I give that up to you. Have it and show me the magic.
Yeah. And wait until they're actually ripe and ready, not pick the fruit before it's
Absolutely.
ripe.
And then all of the tumbling side effects that come from a baby coming out before it's ready, the body being forced to stress to do something before it's ready, and all of that, those things that
doesn't
are
make
so
sense, does it?
Unnatural.
That's right.
I don't know how we've come to this point where we believe we've again surrendered all of our personal power over to the medical, scientific, sterile, plastic environments, which are so far from our roots and our wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. And labouring on our back.
Yes, with the cervix pointing up to the ceiling, because gynecologists in the 1700s, I think it was in France, thought it was more convenient to be able to look through a woman's legs if she was stirruped. So, you know, again,
better for them,
better for the
great
boys.
for the woman.
And, you know, so your cervix is going to close by 30% the second it's sticking up in that direction anyway. So how on earth do you know, and they say that when a woman is squatting, that the amount of space from the ground, you know, to the bottom of her bottom is exactly, you know, the shape of a baby's head, the length of a baby's head. So we're perfectly designed to sit, squat, stand, birthing stools and all of that, which, you know, you look on the tomb walls and the hieroglyphics, they always draw pictures of women in birthing stools traditionally because they were working with gravity. So, yeah.
So we're a bit going away from nature now, aren't we?
Yes. No, there's
lost
just
the plot a little bit.
no question. And
Don't get me started.
it's my issue. And again, for me, it all goes back to just people being so out of touch with that primal sixth sense. I mean, if you were a hunter-gatherer woman and you were picking berries and a tiger was coming, you'd know. You had that sixth sense to know how to navigate your environment for survival. It's a very natural thing. And, you know, you can call it psychic, you can call it a hunch, you know, a gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, but we just do not activate it, encourage it or use it, and we shut it down in our children. And yet it's the only navigator we have through our whole lives, through illness, through relationship meltdowns, through our bodies, through all of the things that happen on our journeys. The only rudder you have to navigate through life is that intuition. So we need to relearn and re-remember how to use that very human gift that we all have inside us.
That's fantastic. That's great. And what would you say to a first-time pregnant woman who's watching this and they're still sitting on the fence, they're not sure what to do, you know, what can you tell them?
Well, a bit of this. It is about educating yourself and taking on responsibility, your own responsibility, because the minute you walk into a hospital system, you're basically saying, I have no clue, I have no idea, you make the decisions for me. Whether I'm happy or unhappy about that afterward, you know, you don't even get a choice because they're going to decide for you. Even if you've got a birth plan, it doesn't matter. Because if you're in the throes of labour, you're not going to be in the right sense of mind to sit down and say, hang on a minute, what about my birth plan? You're not going to be having that conversation, you're going to be birthing.
That's right.
So unless you've got an amazing doula or husband to argue that for you, you know it's going to go out the window, because if you're in their environment, you're under their rules. So, what was the question?
What could you tell?
What yourself and take on your personal power through reading and writing and getting to know.
Doing something like this, maybe?
Just so it's all about reclaiming your personal power of the importance of information and self-knowledge, and that means you do need to talk to people, read the books, you know, look at the research yourself. Don't just believe what people in white coats are telling you. They might be out of touch with the latest research, and I know for a fact many of them are. They don't actually know that maybe the World Health Organisation says that only 12% of births actually have to have intervention, and yet, what is it? How much percentage of women in this country have intervention?
A lot.
Yeah. So you just need to empower yourself through reading and knowledge and information and listening to what resonates with here, and if it does, you keep it, and if it doesn't, you discard it. And I don't care how many initials is after somebody's name or how famous they are or how forceful they are, even if it's your mother-in-law, if it doesn't gel within here, it's not right for you and the baby. And this is your first lesson as a mother in learning how to use that mother's intuition, which you're going to need for the rest of your life as a parent. So you better get that straight now, you know, so that when your teenager's coming home at 4 in the morning and you think something's wrong in here, that you start listening to what's going on.
Absolutely. That's very, very great advice. And, you know, a book like this one, how does that fit within this? You know, how will it benefit a new mother to be?
Okay, so books like this are as rare as hen's teeth, and the ones that exist are 40 years old, which doesn't necessarily make them any less valid, but it's time we had a 21st century update and an Australian version. So anyone who comes to this book is going to be so amazed at what it feels like in our society to sit down and actually read non-stop positive, joyous birth stories, because we never hear that kind of language in our society. We hear pain, fear, drama, attention-getting, you know, theatrical horror stories, which is not the true or the whole story of birth. We never use words like peace, love, joy. They talk about the orgasmic birth, you know.
It's so out of people's realm of possibilities, isn't it?
As Westerners, you know, we've got such strange understandings of our bodies. You know, for example, breasts are so sexualised in our society, and we feel uncomfortable if a woman uses a breast for nourishing. And it's all of that. We're so confused about the basics. So a book like this is women who've managed to set aside a lot of that garbage and get back into their grounded, truer selves. They listen to their bodies. They trust that things, when left to just do what they need to do, will unroll naturally and perfectly and divinely from start to finish. Every element of the entire process is absolutely beautiful when you're allowed to just stand back, hands off, and watch it. You know, even if it's a breach, just trust that baby may turn. You know, that baby, you've got to give things time. That, you know, doctors all running with a forceps, often the baby's head is just still turning in its own time. You know, don't force it. I'm getting off track because I'm getting too passionate. But back to the book. So it's just reading a book like this alone, even if you're not pregnant, is one of the most profound things you can do, because it gives you an entire paradigm shift on something we've kind of been raised to think since we were little girls and played with our plastic dolls with the disproportionate bodies. But anyway,
next book.
So it's just incredibly empowering and enriching and just affirming and strengthening and joyful and wonderful. And so who wouldn't want to have that as part of their pregnant journey?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.